Happy New Year, Fan Clan. What is going on? It is officially 2025. How we doing? How we feeling? Are we excited for the Pokemon trading card game in 2025? I am very stoked. Obviously, we got our FOMO, right? We got to take things easy a little bit. We got to enjoy ourselves, but there's a lot of exciting things happening, right? We have Prismatic Evolutions coming out in a couple weeks. It's a lot closer on this side of 2025 than it was a few days ago. We have the Journey Together set, which is the next main series release coming in March. We have the Team Rocket set. There's some leaks, some spoilers, some possibilities, rumors about things going on with the Switch. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun year. We are going to up the bar a little bit. I got a lot of goals for 2025, so I hope you guys stay with me. I hope you guys help me. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to continue to grow. We're going to continue to do big things, including giving away an entire master set of every single English release. We are one-upping it because we are giving away an entire master set of Terrestrial Festival. This is the latest Japanese release. This is every single card you can pull from a booster pack. Every regular art, every Monster Ball, every Master Ball, every SAR, every regular Ultra, they're all in here. And this entire binder is going to go to one lucky subscriber. And this is the kicker. This is the fun part. This giveaway ends as soon as the Prismatic Evolutions master set begins. So it's going to be like back-to-back master set giveaways. It's really the way that we want to start out 2025. So if you want to win this master set, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. So scroll down, hit that subscribe button, and then I'm going to leave a link in the description, but this is the thumbnail you want to hunt for. You want to go to this video right here, and you want to leave a like and a comment on that video. Boom, you are entered. So hit that subscribe button, and then leave a like and a comment on that video. Come back on January 17th. That's the release day of Prismatic Evolutions, and we're going to announce the winner of this, and then we're going to start the giveaway for the master set of Prismatic Evolution. So a lot of fun stuff happening in 2025, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more tomorrow, talking about like starting your own Pokemon card business, whatever reason you might want to do it, maybe just to earn a couple extra $100 a month, kind of doing things more of a traditional way. But we're going to talk about something else right now, and if you've watched the channel for a while, you know I'm not big into Pokemon card investing. It's just not something I do because I do run a business, right? I run an online LGS, myself and my business partner. We have an English storefront, which you can find at thecardcoliseum.com, so thecardcoliseum.com, and we just launched a Japanese storefront a couple months ago. That's CorrosioShop.com. Both those links will be in the description below, but I don't spend a whole lot of time on investing in Pokemon cards. That doesn't mean that I don't like people who, if that makes them happy, that's fine. Like, I want everybody who's in the hobby to be happy, whatever reason that might be, and I really believe that there's different branches of this giant Pokemon tree where we can all live harmoniously, this is really corny, together, whether you're a collector or a competitive player or a business owner or an investor, whatever, you can mix and match and do multiple things. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you belong here. And I think that's really important for us all to remember because we all do share an equal passion for Pokemon. Now, I want to talk about the investment side of things a little bit, just kind of looking at how things did in 2024 because booster boxes went nuts. And let's face it, the majority of that happened at the end of last year. So let's look at how things did. I'm going to flip you guys around, but before we jump into that, we're gonna talk a little bit more about this tomorrow. But a lot of people are like, hey, Fanny, you've got a lot of stuff behind you. Obviously, you do invest in Pokemon cards. These are all opened, and you can call me a Pokemon card investor if you want. I do have like sealed boxes, like a few of various sets that we hold back in case there's problems with shipping and things like that. And then at that point, I do try and collect one booster box of every single set. So I don't have any Evolving Skies right now, unfortunately, because I sold my last one. But I mean, I've got a few things, not a ton, but this is why. This doesn't work, first of all. And like I said, we're going to talk more about this tomorrow. This method does not work. I wish it did, but this involves a lot of work. And this is basically what a business owner has to go through. So if we look at a new set release, right? So new set release right now with the Scarlet and Violet area, you're looking at about $92.50 of wholesale cost for a booster box. So let's just talk Journey Together because that's the next main series set. So we're going to get charged, let's say $92.50. Some of it might be a little bit lower. Some of it might be a little bit higher, depending on how soon you started your business or how much you order or whatever the case may be. Let's say you just order 6 boxes, or just 6 cases. That's 36 booster boxes, and you sell them for, your goal is 15% after fees. So after your expenses, after your fees, your goal is to make 15% profit margin on everything. That's a little bit small. Be nice if you could make a little bit more, but it's Pokemon, and that doesn't always work really well. Sometimes you're not going to make anything, but this is a perfect world scenario right here. And like I said, it doesn't work. Just remember that. $92.50, sale price $106. That means your total investment into a new set release, you take 36 times $92.50, it's $3,330. So you can think of this as a Pokemon card investor as well. You're going to take $3,330 and you're going to invest it into a new set, and your goal is this price point right here, $92.50 per booster box. Let's say you sold them though, because as a business owner, your idea is to burn and turn. You don't want to hold on to a ton of stuff. You want to move it out, move on to the next set, collect your margin. Remember, you set your margin, you set your goal. You want to collect that, and then you want to move forward. So your total sales, $30,816. That means your total profit was $486. So you sold 36 booster boxes. You had to pack them all up. You had to ship them all out. You had to pay all the expenses, and you profited $486. Not a whole lot, right? But your goal is to compound this. So we talk about reprint windows all the time. Typically, you have about a year and a half where a set is released, where booster boxes won't go out of control. Now, obviously, that hasn't happened with Surging Sparks. That didn't happen really with Evolving Skies, but there were times where you could get Evolving Skies for below $100 several months after release. It really just depends on how big Pokemon decides to reprint or restock a certain set. So your goal is to constantly turn that inventory, turn that money every single month at about 15% margin. You want to be able to take that money that you had. So now month 2, you've got $4,388 that you can now invest, because you've got your total sales, you've got your profit. Month 2, 15% on top of that. Month number 3, you took that, you made 15%. So basically what this is doing is this is just taking your total and multiplying it times 1.15, which is basically earning 15% on every single amount that you invested, burning and turning inventory on a month basis, and building up your business account. So if you do that after 18 months consistently, and like I said, this takes a lot of work. It is constantly scrounging the internet for singles and for playables and looking around and trying to find good deals on sealed and talking to your distributors every day and talking to other store owners and maybe looking at stuff that's not selling for them and utilizing it for yourself instead, building a brand, doing all this stuff where you're constantly working with customers to make sure that you're giving them the best pricing. So you're constantly looking at the market. It is very, very difficult to do something like this. However, if you did that for 18 months consistently, you would be at $41,064.98. So the Journey Together booster box that we invested $92.50 in and burned and turned inventory every single month and continued to burn and turn inventory. Like I said, again, this doesn't work. You're at $41,064.98. If you were to just invest that, if you were to just buy $92.50 booster boxes for Journey Together, you bought 36 of them and you just put them in a closet for a month and a half, or for a year and a half, 18 months. This is the price point that those boxes would need to be at in order to hit this. So it's different. It's just different. That's just really how it is. This isn't going to happen either. You're not going to sit on Journey Together. You're not going to sit on Surging Sparks for a year and a half and see $1,140.69. There's pros and cons with each, right? Like obviously investing, your work involves finding those boxes at $92.50 and then finding the storage space. And once you decide you want to move off of those boxes, then your work happens, where you have to hope that they're still liquid enough that you can move those 36 boxes at whatever price point the market price is that's currently hitting. So a lot of people are like, hey, what's the difference? Here's the difference right here. Burning and turning inventory, much more traditional. You want to work as the way a business typically works, right? No different than Walmart. Walmart buys products from distribution at wholesale cost. They put them in their store. They want them to sell out. They want it all to sell. They don't care who it sells to. They don't care how much you buy. They just want it to sell. That's why you have all these people doing retail arbitrage. Costco puts stuff out. Sometimes a few Costcos will limit, but for the most part, they just let everybody take it. Whatever. As long as we sell, we make our profit margin, then we take that money and we invest it into another product that we try and turn for 15% margin. It's not easy, and like I said, it requires a lot of work, but this is a big difference. Like I said, we'll dive a little bit deeper onto that tomorrow. But I want to talk about the idea of Pokemon card investing, which I think is fine, like I said, but I think it's also something that you want to make sure you're careful about, because there are a lot of differences here when we look at Scarlet and Violet generation from what we saw with Sword and Shield. So for example, Sword and Shield we believe was probably printed a little bit more, especially that back half of Sword and Shield, than what we're seeing from Scarlet and Violet. We have not gotten a massive reprint from Pokemon for the latest booster boxes, and honestly right now there's not one that's been announced. Now it doesn't mean there won't be one soon. I fully expect there to be a big reprint announcement at some point in time, hopefully in January once Prismatic Evolutions hits, but as of right now we're seeing some rapid growth on a lot of these products. And if you can just buy some booster boxes and put them in a closet and they remain super liquid, where your your profit per hour, that's a big deal, because time is money. Time is really, really important, right? Like you can have time doing whatever you want if you're going to be able, that's why it's an investment. If you're going to be able to just put something, a collectible, in a closet and then move off of it later on when it's still liquid but it's more matured in price, like that's a big deal because time is so important. So Sword and Shield booster boxes, we're going to start with those and then kind of move into all the sets that are kind of up to almost the reprint window, up with Paradox Rift. So you can see Sword and Shield base, April of 2024, it was sitting at $263.54. It's currently sitting at $331.54. So not the most popular set, right? It is the new era of a generation. You look at some of the past releases that started a generation. So Sun and Moon base, not the most popular booster box, but a set like XY base does extremely well. Black and White base, not the most popular of the Black and White era, but obviously the base set, original base set, does extremely well. So it really is just kind of hit or miss. This introduced Zacian, it introduced Zamazenta. There were still Rainbow Rare supporters that got introduced in this set. It was a very interesting set, but the demand wasn't there yet. The hype wasn't there yet. So when we're talking 5-10 years down the road, if somebody wants to relive some nostalgia from 5-10 years ago, they're not going to be ripping into a bunch of Sword and Shield base packs because they weren't really around for that era. So it has grown. It's up 21.5%, which is very strong growth over the year, but you can see not overly liquid, right? Between 1 and 3 sales on a weekly basis. Here's Rebel Clash right here, kind of doing the same thing. Not a whole lot of excitement in the set. A year ago, it was actually more expensive. If you would have bought Rebel Clash a year ago at this time, you're pretty flat, right? 230.51 is currently where it's sitting. It was at 231.62 a year ago. It did dip in July, which is really when you would have wanted to pick it up then. It went down to 214.41. But again, not a super liquid set, only 1 to 2 sales on a weekly basis. This is just TCG Player. I'm sure there's sales that are happening in other areas as well. But again, not the most popular set as far as Pokemon go. You have the Toxtricity, you have the Rillaboom, but there wasn't a whole lot of fanfare when it came to those Pokemon, so it doesn't do as well. Vivid Voltage has done pretty well over the past year. Continued growth. The big difference with this one is not a whole lot of chase. A lot of people consider this one to be like the modern day Surging Sparks, or the Surging Sparks that we're looking at right now. There's a huge difference. So yeah, this one did introduce these new almost radiant like cards with the amazing rares, but they were very easy to pull, which I think a lot of people, that kind of hurt people a lot when they originally got invested into Vivid Voltage. Other than that, it's got the Rainbow Rare Pikachu, it's got the full art Pikachu, and there's not a whole lot of excitement for any of the other cards in the set. So because of that, it did well because it was short printed compared to the demand that was there when Vivid Voltage originally released. But after they reprinted it a couple times, the demand wasn't there as much because everybody was focusing on other sets that were later on in the Sword and Shield generation. So it didn't do as well. And because of that, now it's slowly growing a little bit. You can see in January of 2024, it was at 127.46, still up 18.5%. Still very, very strong growth, doing extremely well, and more liquid than the first 2 sets that we looked at. That's another thing that's really important. Some people might be excited to chase the Pikachu down the road, and they might be like, hey, Vivid Voltage is when I really started getting back into Pokemon, so it would be fun to kind of crack and chase a little bit, even though there's not as much excitement. But Surging Sparks, definitely a lot more excitement for people to open up because there is a lot more chase in there. Same story with Darkness Ablaze, not a whole lot of excitement. Yeah, there's a Charizard in the set. It's much easier to pull because it is a VMAX, and VMAX pull rates are much better. This is before pull rates really went nuts, because once we started with that Trainer Gallery, pull rates started looking a lot better for collectors, which I think when you talk about all the rip-in shippers now, all the people who do pack breaks, a lot of people are going to want to focus on those packs that have more hit potential than something like Darkness Ablaze, where you're really only chasing a Charizard VMAX. There's not a whole lot in this set. Also, this one did get reprinted a couple times after demand had already kind of sufficed, like after demand had already gone away for this set. So in April of 2024, it was sitting at 137.31, well below MSRP. Now it's a little bit above MSRP, sitting at 166.35. Still 14% growth. That's really strong for an investment, so don't get me wrong there. Doing extremely well. Battle Styles has leveled off a little bit. Battle Styles not a bad set, and this one could be a little bit exciting down the road, especially because you can still buy it for below MSRP, sitting about $10 below MSRP right now, despite the fact that it's got some age to it. It's the first set that we had those alternate arts introduced. It does have the Urshifu's, it does have the Calyrex, which aren't as exciting of Pokemon for a lot of people, but it does have that cool alternate art Empoleon and that Tyranitar, which are chases for a lot of people. So I do expect it to overperform Vivid Voltage down the road, Darkness Ablaze down the road. It's just taking a lot longer to get there, and a lot of people believe that's because it was just printed a lot more heavily, and it very well could have been. Also, I think a lot of people lost money on Vivid Voltage because those amazing rares were so easy to pull, that people kind of backed off a little bit for Battle Styles, and they were like, well, I'm not going to open as much Battle Styles, and then we had this surplus of product that just didn't get opened as much. In January of 2024, it was $101. It was very, very cheap. It did jump all the way up to $137.95. Now it's backed off a little bit, sitting at $134.58, but you're still looking at almost 24% growth on the year, despite the fact that it's been really flat over the last 6 months. Chilling Rain, doing Chilling Rain things. This set's very, very good for a lot of people, despite the fact that it's got very difficult pull rates. It's got over 100 ultra rares in it, lots of alternate arts in it, which makes people really excited. Obviously, it's got the Galarian Bird Trio, all in alternate art form. It's got that gold Snorlax, which is like the most popular gold card in the Sword and Shield block. January of 2024, it was sitting at $160.38, so just above MSRP. You can see where it went out of stock on the Pokemon Center website because it shot up like crazy. It retraced a little bit in September, back down to about $200, but now that the hype has returned, it's moved up quite a bit. About 58% growth now over the year and continuing to climb. Another set that, because a lot of people got back into Pokemon around this time, is going to be popular down the road for quite some time. We're not going to spend a lot of time talking about Evolving Skies. We will never understand Evolving Skies. The demand behind it is nuts. Obviously, if you want to compare it to a set in the past, the ceiling on this thing is just absolutely phenomenal, because you look at sets like Team Up, which, yeah, probably short printed compared to a set like Evolving Skies, but out of Team Up, you can pull some cool alternate art cards, and then you have a chase of the Latias and Latios. Well, that Moonbrand just continues to catch that Latias and Latios, and you still have other cards in this set that are chasing, so it wouldn't surprise me, honestly, if Evolving Skies got to $2,000 a box in the near future, just because that's what we've seen from Team Up. So January of 2024 is $473.81, obviously well beyond the reprint window, relatively flat from February of 2024 all the way up until September of 2024, and then really started taking the next step forward, up about 105% on the year, sitting at $972.98. Fusion Strike lost its mind over the last couple weeks. Part of that is because of the Black Friday deal. It just went out of stock on TCG Player. It got relisted at higher price points, and people were really willing to pay those price points. Liquid, it's still moving on TCG Player despite the higher price point. That Gengar VMAX is going to be a chase. The Espeon VMAX is going to be a chase. The Mew VMAX is going to be a chase. So despite the fact that it's really the last set where you're only going to pull about 7 ultra rares per box, still a lot of demand for it in January of 2024, sitting at $142.36, very flat the majority of the year, and now it's just kind of taken off again. $380.91. I do think that's a little bit high. 167.57 as far as the growth percentage goes. I don't think people are going to be buying it at 380. I think it'll cool back down to about 320, somewhere around there. I think 380 is probably too high for the demand right now. It's just too quick. That's my own personal opinion. I could be wrong. I always am. Brilliant Stars, April of 2024, January of 2024, really in that area right there. It was sitting right around MSRP 156.10. It was still in stock at the Pokemon Center website, then it went out of stock, jumped up like crazy, much like what we saw with Chilling Rain, then it backed off a little bit. Now it started taking that next step forward. This is the first set with the Trainer Gallery. It's got that alternate art Charizard. A lot of people excited for Brilliant Stars. I think it's going to be a big set in the future as well. $219.71 is where it's currently sitting, up about 36.5%. Astral Radiance probably not going to do as well as a set like Brilliant Stars. Really kind of the second tier of Trainer Gallery sets. So Silver Tempest, Astral Radiance, probably the bottom two for a lot of people. In January of 2024, it was sitting at $135.82. It's got some cool cards in it, like that alternate art Machamp, obviously the Dialga Palkia alternate arts, really cool cards as well. The Trainer Gallery has that Starmie V and that Garchomp. Beautiful looking artwork, just not as popular as what you will see from a set like Brilliant Stars or even Lost Origin as far as the chase cards go. In April of 2024, it did jump up to about about 180, then cooled off a little bit. That was after it went out of stock on the Pokemon Center website. Now it's jumped up to 190, 142. So again, 41% growth. Very, very strong growth over the past year. Same thing with Lost Origin. This one's up over 100% right now, sitting at 287.24, which is a one-year high for it. Again, a lot of sales that happened right around that Black Friday that really drove the price point up, but sales continued to happen even at that higher price point, which is very interesting. Continued sales, so very liquid. You're still looking at 20 to 30 sales on a weekly basis, so still doing extremely well. From 137.32 all the way up to 287.24, doing very, very well. Silver Tempest also doing really well. Recently went out of stock on the Pokemon Center website in January of 2024. It was sitting at 121.50, relatively flat from May all the way up until October, and then when it went out of stock, it started moving up a little bit. Not as liquid as Lost Origin, not as liquid probably as Brilliant Stars. There's still sales happening on a weekly basis, despite the fact that it's at a higher price point right now. Looking at about 61.5% growth over the past year. 196.33 doing really well. Scarlet and Violet base still available at some distributors at discounted prices, but not at wholesale price anymore, unfortunately. This was printed quite heavily, and then they backed off starting with Paldea Evolved, and because of that, it just wasn't as popular. It didn't get cracked as much. Not as much love for the Koraidon and Miraidon. They're okay. January of 2024, it was sitting at 84.93. It did have some peaks and valleys in there, and then September of 2024 really started moving. You can see when that buyback or that cash offer that TCG Player was offering really increased sales. We had a week where it was over 160 sales on TCG Player, all because of the cashback offering on TCG Player for Black Friday, and that drove the price up quite a bit, sitting at 122.87 right now, up about 38% on the year. Paldea Evolved has gone nuts. You can see, look at the amount of booster boxes that sold right around Black Friday there, moving up to about 450. Now, we did have a big restock of it, which helped a lot, but even with the higher price point, the demand, the amount of people who talk about Pokemon card investing and buying booster boxes, this is really what drives a lot of interest from people. In January of 2024, $91.58. Now it's up about 68% on the year, despite the fact that it did get reprinted and restocked. 164.03 is where it's currently sitting and continuing to climb. So doing really well, just because the hype is there, the demand is there, and the supply is there. And because of that, it just keeps moving up and up and up. Same thing with Obsidian Flames, sitting at 137.23. I'm really on the fence about Obsidian Flames. It's an easy set for pull rates, which I think people will be really excited about. It's got multiple Charizards in it, which I think people are going to be really excited about, but it doesn't have the amount, the quantity that what we see in like Paldea Evolved or Paradox Rift. I think it'll be good, but you look at sets like Burning Shadows and how it's performed in the past, or even Darkness Ablaze. I think it's a little bit better than those, but not a ton better. January of 2024 was sitting at $93.62, relatively flat up until May, and then really started taking off once stock levels started getting a little bit lower. Large amounts of sales again, very liquid, even without that Black Friday deal. It was still selling between 40 and 50 on a weekly basis and been consistent at that for the year, so still doing extremely well. And the last one we're going to look at, Paradox Rift. This one did get reprinted and restocked a couple times, but it is moving low in supply on distribution right now. Distribution is just low on a lot of stuff because the hype is there, the demand is there, and the supply is just not there until Pokemon starts pushing out more products. So because of that, you're seeing some rapid growth in a lot of different areas, including boxes like Paradox Rift, which is now up to 129.41, up about 41% on the year. You could see a little bit more of this kind of come out. It's only a little bit over a year old, but it's getting to that point where you might not see big reprints anymore as we get closer and closer to that reprint window closing. So well up from its $91.13 price, which it was at not too long after release. So doing really well. You can let me know in the comment section down below what your take is on Pokemon card investing. Booster boxes is mainly what it is, right? Like, so that's not that big of a deal because there's still plenty of, this is my own personal opinion. I'm not trying to impose it on anybody. There's still a lot of other products out there. A lot of products that you can rip. If you're somebody who likes to crack packs, like obviously there's a lot of sleeve booster packs out there. There's a lot of loose packs out there. There's a lot of collection boxes which get discounted very quickly because wholesale prices, they're just too expensive for people to really have any demand for those products. So there's still plenty of product out there to rip. Booster boxes just continue to climb because that's what gets talked about a whole lot. So obviously it's an easier thing to store, and these percentages speak for themselves. So they do extremely well. So hope you enjoy the content. If you did, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment. It goes a really long way for the algorithm. But ultimately, thank you just for taking the time on January 2nd to spend some time with me. I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow with another video. Until next time, peace.